The hologram flickered to life in Alexander's cramped apartment on Mars Colony 7, casting blue light across the worn furniture. He'd been nursing his third cup of synthetic coffee when the emergency beacon activated, something that hadn't happened in the 5 years since he'd retired from the Terran Defense Corps. The image that materialized made his blood run cold that a small Centauri child, no more than 7 in human years, stared back at him with those distinctive triple-pupilled eyes. Her lavender skin was streaked with tears, and her small frame trembled as she clutched what looked like a broken communication device. "Please," the girl whispered in broken galactic common. "He broke Mommy's legs. She can't walk. He's coming back. Help us." Alexander's hand tightened around his coffee mug. "Who are you? Where are you?" But the hologram was just a recording, looping endlessly. The girl's terrified face, her desperate plea, played again and again. "He broke Mommy's legs. She can't walk. He's coming back." The veteran's jaw clenched. He recognized the emergency frequency, one used by civilians in distress across the outer colonies. But this transmission was different, encoded with coordinates that shouldn't exist, sent on a channel that had been decommissioned 3 years ago when the Treaty of Proxima was signed. Someone didn't want this call traced. Alexander pulled up his neural interface, fingers flying across the holographic display. The coordinates led to Epsilon Station, a forgotten outpost in the Centauri neutral zone. It had been abandoned after the war, left to rot in the black between territories. No one went there anymore. No one legal, anyway. "Damn it," he muttered, already reaching for his old combat jacket. The patches were faded, the armor plating outdated, but it still fit like a second skin. His AI assistant chimed in, its synthetic voice cautious. "Alexander, I must advise against this course of action. Epsilon Station is outside Terran jurisdiction. If you intervene, you could restart diplomatic incidents that took years to resolve." "Noted," Alexander said, strapping on his sidearm. The weight felt familiar, comforting even. "Prep the shuttle." "Alexander, that's an order, Arya." The AI fell silent, but the shuttle bay doors began their opening sequence as Alexander piloted his battered transport through the Mars atmospheric shield. He replayed the hologram again. The girl, her terror so raw it transcended species barriers. During the war, he'd seen plenty of Centauri, mostly soldiers trying to kill him. But he'd also seen their civilians, their families, caught in the crossfire of a conflict neither side truly wanted. The Treaty of Proxima had ended the bloodshed, but it hadn't ended the suffering. In the power vacuum left behind, criminals and warlords had carved out territories in the neutral zones, preying on the weak and displaced. The journey to Epsilon Station took 4 hours at maximum burn. Alexander used the time to check his weapons, old habits resurfacing like muscle memory. His plasma rifle needed calibration, his combat knife needed sharpening, and his tactical vest needed new power cells. When Epsilon Station finally appeared on his sensors, it looked exactly as he remembered. A rusting wheel of metal spinning slowly in the void, bleeding atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches. Life support showed minimal activity in the residential sector. Alexander docked on the abandoned military side, moving through the darkened corridors with practiced silence. His helmet's HUD painted the world in thermal imaging and motion sensors. 2 signatures in the residential sector, one large and moving, one small and stationary. The sound of crying led him to apartment 14. See, the door had been forced open, its lock mechanism sparking and dead. Inside, the scene was worse than he'd imagined. A Centauri woman lay on the floor, her legs bent at unnatural angles, breathing shallow but steady. Beside her, clutching her hand, was the girl from the hologram, Anna. The child's eyes went wide when she saw Alexander, and she scrambled backward, putting herself between the human and her mother. "Please," Anna whispered, just like in the recording. "Please don't hurt us more." Alexander slowly removed his helmet, showing his face. "I'm not here to hurt you. You sent a distress call. I came. You came." The girl's voice was barely audible. "But you're human. You're supposed to hate us. Not all of us," Alexander said gently, kneeling down. His scanner showed the mother had multiple fractures, internal bleeding, but nothing immediately fatal if she got medical attention. "Your mother needs a hospital. Let me help." "Grix will come back," Anna said, terror flooding her features. "He said if we called for help, he'd kill Mommy. He said no one cares about Zentarii anymore. Who's Grix? He collects the credits. When Mommy couldn't pay, he got angry. He said we're animals. He said, the motion sensor in Alexander's helmet blinked red. Get behind me. The veteran commanded. His voice transformed from gentle to combat sharp in an instant. He raised his rifle, pointing it at the doorway that a massive Krellian stepped into the apartment, easily 7 feet tall, with armored plating covering his torso. His 4 arms held various weapons, and his mandibles clicked with amusement. A human, Grix laughed, his voice like grinding metal. The little parasites actually found someone stupid enough to respond. Did you know interference in neutral zone affairs is a treaty violation, monkey? Alexander's response was calm, measured. Did you know breaking a woman's legs in front of her child makes you a coward in any language? Grix's mandibles stopped clicking. What did you call me? You heard me. Alexander took 1 step forward, placing himself fully between the Krellian and the Zentarii family. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn around and leave. I'm going to take these 2 to a medical facility. And if I ever hear you've hurt anyone again, I'm coming back to finish this conversation. The Krellian's laugh was ugly. 1 human veteran against me? I've killed dozens of your kind. Then you know what we're capable of when we're angry, Alexander said quietly. I'm giving you a choice Grix never gave them. Walk away. For a long moment, the apartment was silent except for Anna's quiet sobbing and her mother's labored breathing. Then Grix made his choice that he charged. What happened next took less than 30 seconds, but Anna would remember it for the rest of her life. The human moved with a speed that shouldn't have been possible for someone his age, his combat experience turning him into a blur of controlled violence. Grix's weapons clattered to the floor one by one, followed by the Krellian himself, unconscious and bound with electromagnetic restraints. Alexander turned back to the terrified girl, breathing hard but steady. It's okay now, he said, his voice gentle again despite the adrenaline coursing through him. I'm here. I came, just like I said I would. Anna stared at him, tears streaming down her lavender cheeks. Why? Why would you help us? We're not human. Alexander knelt down beside her mother, already activating his medical kit. Because someone needed help, and I was able to give it. That's all that matters. As he worked to stabilize the injured woman, his shuttle, AI, chimed in his helmet. Medical transport inbound. ETA 12 minutes. Also, Alexander, the Galactic Council has already issued a formal complaint about your presence here. Tell them to file it with the others, Alexander replied, carefully splinting the broken legs. I've got bigger concerns. Anna watched the human work with steady, practiced hands, saving her mother's life in the ruins of a forgotten station. Later, when she was older, she would tell this story to anyone who would listen. She would become an ambassador, working to bridge the gap between species, inspired by the veteran who crossed light years because a frightened child called for help. But in that moment, she simply whispered, "Thank you." Alexander looked at her and smiled, a weathered, tired smile that had seen too much war but hadn't forgotten how to be kind. You're welcome, kid. Now let's get your mom somewhere safe. As they waited for the medical transport, Anna held her mother's hand and watched the human who had answered her desperate call. In a galaxy still healing from war, still divided by fear and hatred, one old soldier had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology, that IT was their stubborn, relentless refusal to leave anyone behind.